Hi everyone, and welcome to my paper titled Rare Exports, Informal Infrastructures of Transnational Television Circulation and Only-Click TV. And this paper is part of ongoing research into global media ecologies. So to provide wider context, the 21st century media landscape has been seen to incorporate what Faltesek terms TV everywhere, where convergence culture's digitization of television extends media well beyond the traditional small screen to a range of devices. Concurrently, this epoch has frequently been recognized as the TB3 era, where we've seen an escalation of media consolidation with the emergence of large media conglomerates, the shift towards first-order commodity relations, where viewers pay directly for subscription or pay-per-view services, and an increase in the number of sites through which television can be distributed, to quote Cuthbertson. Moreover, the idea that streaming services have introduced a fourth phase of television where online streaming sites such as Netflix and Amazon Prime, Jenna 2016, to provide a culture of replay through the ability to allow audiences to pause and repeat television as they so wish. Central to this then is what Gillen terms must-click TV, which, and to quote them, utilises standard notions of televisual flow between its broadcast network programs and across its scheduling grid and online platforms. Finally, such developments have been understood as a post-TBD paradigm that subverts key aspects of TV's ontology, since new technological and industrial practices have introduced radical changes in technological aspects of television, its use and its consequent cultural significance, to quote Lotz, encouraging the broader blurring of media formats, to quote Sim, via internet portals rather than TV channels. This centres on subverting linear broadcast, shifting consumption patterns and habits, and changes in textual construction. Now, post-TV has become ever more global, yet there are a host of reasons as to why certain audiences do not have access to media via formal avenues. As Lobato remarks, television is still bounded and located in all kinds of ways. Most notably, many on-demand services are not available internationally wholesale. For example, despite making great strides in its international expansion of services, often by localized branding strategies, Netflix is still unavailable in all countries. The same holds true for Amazon Prime. YouTube has been recognized for its open access and thus transnational potential, yet we might note that YouTube Premium is limited to certain nations. Similarly, Twitch is an international phenomenon, but has been banned at one time or another in Russia, China, and Vietnam. Other on-demand portals are even more limited in their global scope, such as Hulu, which is only available in the US and Japan, and national streaming or catch-up services even more so, such as BBC iPlayer and ITV Hub, that are confined to Great Britain's borders. Similarly, different TV channels and services cost different prices across various national markets. Moreover, given the digital nature of post-TV, the cost of internet services that facilitate the entry to portals and the circulation of content must also be factored into the equation. This means access to media is tied to audiences' disposable incomes. Consequently, there are domestic US audiences who cannot afford, for example, HBO television, or who deem it too overpriced to be willing to subscribe to it. Lobato evidences how Netflix subscriptions differ between national markets that can shape the value of the service. For example, in India, Netflix is expensive and therefore an exclusive premium service, unaffordable for all but the most affluent Indians, to quote Lobato. Comparatively, in Japan, Netflix is very cheap, but located in a region where there is a strong extant streaming media ecology, and therefore is not bequeathed with such distinctive value. Moreover, even if a portal such as Netflix is available in various regions, content is not monolithic between countries. Elkins explains that this is because television distribution licensing agreements are still often arranged territory by territory. This means television can be regionally locked, or indeed locked out of specific territories, by what is termed geoblocking, the practice of using technological means to restrict access to content to specific geographic regions, to quote Stewart. This can account for different libraries of the same service. For example, someone who's watching Netflix in Germany will have a different catalogue of choices compared to those watching in New Zealand. Or it can be that demarcated access to a particular service in particular territories. For example, audiences outside of the US and Japan are geo-blocked access of Hulu. Equally, television outside of the UK and US may suffer from a lack of international clout, thus is often confined to national broadcasts or given reduced transnational movement to neighbouring countries. Similarly, even when texts are reformatted to DVD or Blu-ray, these may be limited by region-specific encoding, meaning hardware outside of the prescribed regions are unavailable to play the content. So for example, Stranger Things is restricted to Region 1 DVD formatting, meaning only North American coded hardware can be used to watch this format. Relatedly, Evans notes that unofficial distribution networks have become the most prominent example of digital transmediality's impact on the reception of the televisual market. Whereas must-click TV utilizes standard notions of televisual flow between its broadcast network's programs and across its scheduling grid and online platforms, to quote Gillen, what I conceptualize as only clicks TV is television that at one point or another been aired via formal broadcast or stream, but through spatial and temporal shifting vis-à-vis the internet and digital media, becomes available to the viewer purely by informal means. A given text will not be only clicked to all viewers, stressing the fragmentation of text in time and space, yet facilitates informal textual consumption when other forms of acquisition are arrested. This formatting allows audiences to circumvent formal gatekeepers and paywalls within domestic spaces, but is particularly salient to transcultural audiences for the barriers I previously mentioned. So only-click TV comes from a range of sources, over a number of portals, and in various formats. This is most notable through users downloading episodes of television as digital files from pirate websites, peer-to-peer technology, and BitTorrent services and software, storing it externally on offline hardware. Alternatively, users in geo-blocked regions can bypass borders by utilizing virtual private networks, VPNs. Rather than providing audiences with external files, as with downloading, VPNs trick the products into believing that the user is in a different country that has access to the locked content. Others have turned to hacking hardware to provide illicit media consumption. Now, this is not entirely new in terms of strategies, as previously audiences could decode region-locked DVD players that would result in the hardware playing all DVDs irrespective of their region coding. In terms of only-click formatting, users can jailbreak Amazon Fire TV sticks, where hacking it allows them to install Kodi, a free and open source software, to the device, which as a result gives the user a plethora of pirated media. This only-click method combines an external hardware, the stick, with digital streaming capabilities through its use of VPN and online operating software. Similarly, users can hack or buy hacked unlocked TV boxes that provide the same services. Finally, Laboto discusses the rise of what is known as IPTV, Internet Protocol Television. There's piracy of low-cost internet-distributed subscription services offering hundreds of live satellite channels, a new and distinctive global television experience, he says. This only-click form differs from the previous examples in two principal ways. Firstly, unlike the other examples which are free or have an initial one-off cost for purchasing the hardware, pirate IPTV requires ongoing subscription to access illicit content. As such, this mode of only-click TV operates in a shadow economy, a non-official arena of content acquisition that occur within capitalist economies but outside the purview of the state, again to quote Laboto. Secondly, unlike the asynchronicity and non-linear form of downloading, VPN access to formal on-demand services, and the large part of Kodi's third-party system, pirate IPTV is premised on live and linear broadcast, by aggregating channels from around the globe, yet still available via digital means. This produces new transnationally inflected forms of flow specific to this form of digital broadcast television. But whilst digital media, both formal and informal, aids in non-linear TV distribution, only-click can reinstill synchronicity with episodes TV transmission. So Gray notes that downloading allows viewers to transcend their local broadcasters' delivery schedules. As noted, fans of current active text may illegally download because they simply cannot wait for dissemination by slower traditional means and are unwilling to pay for access to such content, or because the text is not readily available in their territories. As such, only-click practices have proven globally popular with TV dramas from North America, the UK and Europe. One TV horror example of this is The Walking Dead. Whilst The Walking Dead can be considered a transmedia commercial success, reports of extremely high global download volumes during the broadcast evidence its only-click following. The Walking Dead's first season was shown on basic cable channel AMC in the US. The show was therefore largely available to most domestic audiences. This season was shown in a further 26 territories, some of which via DVD or the internet, with premieres varying between 2010 to 2019. Thus, anyone outside of these 27 countries, and even some of those included countries whose premieres were considerably later than 2010, would need to turn to informal media ecologies to partake in just-in-time fandom. Moreover, Jason Patel writes that serial television is a temporal system with story installments parcelled out over times with gaps in between, entries through a strictly regimented time. Quality TV serialization is used in the structuring of The Walking Dead, demonstrating the potential for the zombie narrative to offer complex social commentary that shifts and develops with the series as the zombie apocalypse slowly unfolds over time, to quote Advert. Moreover, the narrative twists, emotive cliffhangers, and killing off of core characters provides ample talking points for audiences to discuss after episodes have aired. Therefore, systematic gaps allow for the continued engagement with the serial by fans who will discuss it with others, develop textual criticism and theorization, and consume other Walking Dead transmedia, with everyone at the same point of the story, to quote Mattel. Such effective and temporal structuring encourages only click practices for transnational audiences who want to keep up to date with fellow fans in order to engage with online community discussions. Matt Hills terms this just-in-time fandom, explaining, to quote Hills, "The practices of fandom have become increasingly enmeshed within the rhythm and temporalities of broadcasting, so that fans now go online to discuss new episodes immediately after the episode's transmission time, in order to demonstrate the timeliness and responsiveness of their devotion. Just-in-time fandom is a community of imagination that constitutes itself precisely through a common affective engagement, and thereby through a common respect for a specific potential space," to quote Hills. Hills evidences value in the liminality of fan engagement because, and again to quote Hills, rather than using the web merely to confirm academic hypotheses, it may be more significant to address online spatio-temporal transformations in what it means to be part of a cult audience as a commodity-based community. Thus, only click over delayed traditional broadcast creates effective intensity for fans, also fostering transcultural online fan engagement as audiences from around the world deconstruct, dissect, and discuss the TV they've viewed, who would otherwise been able to partake in such rhythmic fan talk. Equally, OnlyClick affords transcultural fans material never broadcast in their indigenous homes. Indeed, OnlyClick distribution creates secondary audiences who turn to informal networks to acquire prized content as close as possible as to the formal release of episodes. Marshall explains that the distinctive quality of this secondary audience is the level of commitment of its members, which has driven them to download and watch programs in a more user and time-intensive way. The level of commitment linked to acquiring text through OnlyClick means that such practices have subcultural value attached to the liminality of textual acquisition. Moreover, whilst post-TV has been predominantly US-based and oriented, fans uploading TV onto sites such as YouTube offers wider transcultural understanding of post-televisual dissemination. Now, this is evident in the following case studies. So OnlyClick is central to consuming rare content from yesteryear, not just from the present day. So, for example, Fuji's television J-horror TV series Ring Sayashusho, adapted from Koji Suzuki's novel Ringu and its sequel Raisin, the series combined horror with drama as a popular Japanese TV genre. But whilst following on from the global success of Ringu's film iteration, Sayashusho was not sold abroad. This is somewhat indicative of the Japanese television industry. As Kim writes, there was little interest on the part of Japanese producers in marketing their dramas throughout Asia because the domestic market was so profitable and because in many areas in the region there was insufficient protection of intellectual property. This meant, according to Kim, others took it upon themselves to distribute dramas motivated either by profit or fandom, and it's the latter that I turn to. The online fan discussion and circulation of J-horror television coincides with the mainstreaming of Japanese horror cinema and the slew of subsequent Hollywood remakes that many cult fans of the source text disliked. Thus, not only did the text's rarity create subcultural distinction, but by looking back to older, untouched content material that was aired up to 10 years prior, creates a temporal legitimization of such content in the face of the contemporary Western remakes, undermining of the fandom's cult parameters, to quote Rendell. J-horror TV thus serves a valuable function within online J-horror fandom for its novelty, scarcity, and exclusivity. Turning to Mexico, alongside other Latin American territories, the country has become renowned for its telenovelas. formulaic soap operas emphasizing ongoing narratives, romance and melodrama. Offering something quite different, Hola Masada is a gothic horror anthology series comprised of standalone episodes. Moreover, Hola Masada has been recognized for giving breaks to now-renowned Mexican cinema creatives, including Alfonso Cuarón and Guillermo del Toro, among many others. The uploading episodes to YouTube that began around 2007 and continues to this day provides a temporal portal that allows present-day audiences to go back and watch early horror TV from these esteemed film personnel, and in the case of horror fandom, particularly Del Toro, whose auteur labelling is linked to the genre. However, whilst access is freely available to Hola Masada, this only-click content is unaccompanied by subtitles. Whilst this means non-Spanish speaking audiences are unable to understand dialogue, it's important to note the Spanish language's expansive geolinguistic region. Consequently, the majority of Latin America, large parts of the US, and Spain itself can readily engage with this TV horror. As such, while only-click can bypass traditional gatekeepers of media content that allows large international viewership to watch bygone television, existing barriers can still exclude certain audiences unless further extra-textual qualities are part of the informal reformatting, namely subtitles. Turning to my final case study, as Ring said, the user uploaded the content to YouTube with subtitles. This is important as compared to English and Spanish, Russian is spoken far less around the world. So this is a 1991 made-for-TV film adaptation of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, Rendell, and it's the only adaptation believed to have been made in the Soviet Union, to quote Roth. Now Roth explains that few knew about this existence until Leningrad Television's successor, 5TV, abruptly posted the film to YouTube, where it gained more than 800,000 views within several days. The rehousing of the fantasy text onto 5TV also shows how clear distinction between formal and informal media ecologies are not always so readily clear. Instead, this example of only-click TV illustrates how media content, technology and infrastructure can operate across a spectrum of formality and informality. Only-click can therefore be understood also as a mode of user-based Digi Gratis. Paul Booth conceptualizes Digi Gratis as an economic structure where money is not exchanged, but which retains elements of a market structure. Operating within a gift economy, fan-produced content circulated within fandoms not only provides subcultural capital for the individual, but is a necessity for maintaining and growing social cohesion within the community that motivates subsequent communal sharing and collaboration. Booth also argues that Digi Gratis serves the industry since fan content acts as marketing material for extant media. With this, various forms of fan labour are present within formatting and dissemination of only-click television, including but not limited to the locating of TV, converting it into digital media, the uploading of content online, and even producing subtitles for international television, so audiences from around the world can understand the dialogue. But while this is evident for current media such as The Walking Dead and AMC, archive TV that is no longer being broadcast, as the latter three case studies evidence, complicate Booth's model, since fans uploading content online supports audience engagement and social interactions, but does not maintain or enhance the market economy for the respective television companies that originally broadcast the content. In these cases, Digi Gratis here serves the community far more than it does industry. So to conclude, online technologies and media have become fundamental to textual dissemination and consumption. This has significant effects on what content is available, who gets to watch it, and the shaping of social networks. Furthermore, within convergence cultures, both formal and informal dissemination and consumption practices take place, providing what Holt and Sansa term connected viewing, or the broader ecosystem in which digital distribution is rendered possible and new forms of user engagement take shape. With this, only-click facilitates textual consumption when other forms of acquisition are arrested. Popular when content is being broadcast, but remains unavailable in a given territory and/or is only available via premium subscription. Equally, in some instances, the TV text is no longer being broadcast, so only-click can be the only option for some in order to consume that content. Moreover, in examining the effective engagement that audiences can get from partaking in this practice, or indeed being active contributors to only-click processes, demonstrates how, to quote Lobato, the circuits through which texts move are of paramount importance to the process of reception. Thank you for listening.